Hey, welcome back to Triu News. It's good to be back. Rachel Maddow just made a huge admission. It's all unraveling, folks. We all remember Rachel Maddow, the asexual, the man-woman that the world elites want us all to look like. Rachel Maddow has finally admitted on live air that the Trump administration may be completely innocent of all charges being thrown against it. Well, we kind of already knew that, didn't we? Because this is a war of patriots and globalists. Breitbart reported Thursday on MSNBC's The Rachel Maddow Show. Host Rachel Maddow said there is still a possibility President Donald Trump and his campaign were innocent of accusations of being in cahoots with Russian government during the 2016 presidential campaign, and that this may not take down the Trump presidency. Well, why would it? We haven't actually seen a shred of evidence that would prove such a thing. If that is indeed the case, Maddow urged her viewers to not let their guards down against public corruption, especially as there are any other numbers of storylines to pursue while the Trump-Russia saga dominates the news coverage. Well, it doesn't actually. It's actually getting swept under the rug at this point. Trump is firing on so many cylinders, from taxes to abortion to illegal immigration. Like I was saying before, the news can't figure out what the hell to do. They're going to keep demonizing them. We know that for certain. The news today that we may get testimony in exchange for immunity from Fire National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who is in a position potentially to know more about the scandal than anybody else. That news today revs the scandal up into higher gear that we didn't even know we had in our national transmission. And you know we will. We here at the show, and I think of this network, we will cover this aggressively as anybody. I think it's been fair to say we have been aggressive as anybody on this story already, and that will remain the case. What they're really saying is they will attack Trump forever, but it makes no difference. For to stand against the darkness, it is our responsibility to do such a thing, regardless of ridicule. But I was just to plant this flag here. There remains the possibility that the president and his campaign are innocent. There remains the possibility that the president and his campaign are not innocent, but that this scandal does not prove to be existential presidency-ending conflagration, even if they are found to have committed very bad acts. Well, of course, look what Obama did, and he wasn't kicked out of office, and the Republicans owned the House and the Senate at the time. So Trump's not going anywhere, mainly because the markets is skyrocketing, and what he said was true. America is making a shit ton of money. Now and always will be the case. For Trump, might not know how to do this and might not know how to do that, but making money is something he knows how to do. He knows where it comes from and knows how to make more of it instead of just stealing other people's and giving it to the poor. Breaking. It has just been confirmed Hillary's campaign chairman was just exposed. According to reports, John Podesta had a financial connection to the Kremlin while serving as Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman during the 2016 election. And like I was discussing before, through the rules of the radicals by Saul Alinsky, who actually worshipped Lucifer, aside from that was Hillary Clinton's hero and mentor. Even in his book, he mentions the fact that if you are guilty of something, you make the opposition guilty of it. So if Hillary had ties to Russia, say Trump had ties to Russia. And that's the way they play the game. It's the art of the deception. Let's take a look.
Well, what about your connection to the Kremlin cash, Mr. Podesta? Joining us right now from Tallahassee is Peter Schweizer. He's the author of Clinton Cash, president of the Government Accountability Institute. Peter, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve.
So tell us about John Podesta and his connection to a Kremlin-backed company.
Well, in 2011, John Podesta joins the board of this very small energy company called Juul Energy, based out of Massachusetts. About 2 months after he joins the board, a Russian entity called Rusnano puts 1 billion rubles, which is about $35 million, into John Podesta's company. Now, what is Rusnano? Rusnano is not a private company, Steve. It is a fund directly funded by the Kremlin. In fact, the Russian science minister called Rusnano Putin's child. So you have the Russian government investing in one of John Podesta's businesses in 2011 while he is an advisor to Hillary Clinton at the State Department.
While he's an advisor to Hillary Clinton. Okay, does anybody in the Trump circle rise to the level where there's this kind of money involved?
No, I haven't seen that yet. Nobody that is, has an advisory role in the White House has had this money exchanged, and certainly the money hasn't exchanged, as far as we know, while they have been advising the president.
Okay, so all that big money when he was an advisor to Hillary Clinton, who was running for president, he was and also at the U.S. Department of State, but also wasn't he a special counselor to Barack Obama when he was president and did not disclose the fact that he had, apparently, it looks like, in his portfolio, all this Russian money?
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is part of the problem, Steve. So then in 2013, he goes to the White House to be special counselor to Barack Obama, and that requires that you have financial disclosures every year. In his financial disclosure form in 2013, he not only fails to disclose these 75,000 shares of stock that he has in Juul Energy, which is funded in part by the Russian government, he also fails to disclose that he is on one of the 3 corporate boards that this entity has. It's got this very complex ownership structure. He discloses he's on the company in Massachusetts, that he's on the board of a company in the Netherlands, but he fails to disclose that he's also on the executive board of the holding company. That's a clear violation of the disclosure rules, and I think needs to be looked at.
Sure. What's interesting is there's such a double standard. Members of the Trump team may have talked to some Russians, and we don't know the complete nature of that yet because the investigation is still out, may have talked to it, is a lot different than actually having money in the bank that's tied to the Kremlin.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the question is during transitions, you always have conversations that take place, and you want to hope that nobody has made promises, and there's no evidence that any promises have been made. What makes the Podesta case clear is there was a transfer of money, and there was a transfer of a lot of money that stood to make John Podesta a lot of money. That is unique, and that's extremely troubling, because as the time that transfer is taking place, he is advising Hillary Clinton at the State Department. We know that from the Podesta emails that he's helping her make personnel decisions, speech decisions, policy decisions. He's meeting with her monthly. So it's a transfer of money from a foreign government at a time that he is advising America's chief diplomat, Hillary Clinton.
And what are the chances of the big 3 networks doing the story tonight, Peter?
Well, I think I've said for a long time, when it comes to Russia, we always want to make sure that this stuff is vetted.
Okay. Peter Schweizer, thank you very much.
Well, there you have it. Perfect example of Saul Alinsky's book. I would definitely recommend all to read it. For to crush thine enemy, you have to know thine enemy. Breaking: New York City Mayor just made an unexpected announcement and no one saw it coming. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has just announced the decision to close the Rikers Island jail facility. The Washington Times reported, New York, the mayor said Friday that he wants to close the city's troubled Rikers Island jail complex, though he cautioned that doing so would be difficult and take at least a decade. It will take many years, and it will take many tough decisions along the way, but it will happen, Mayor de Blasio said. What do you mean, letting criminals go? That's probably what they're really after. Among those challenges, the mayor said the jail's daily population would have to be slashed to half of what it was just a few years ago. New smaller jails would also have to be opened elsewhere in the city, a potentially lengthy process considering the possibility of neighborhood opposition. Well, for one, the jails wouldn't even be nearly as full as they are now if the drug war wasn't taking place. Now, I kind of have a libertarian standpoint when it comes to drug abuse, or not abuse, just drug use. From what I understand, there's more pharmaceutical drugs that kill people, legal pharmaceutical drugs that kill people every single year than there is any other drug, like heroin and cocaine and other damaging substances. However, if you want to take a needle, shove it in your arm, or if you want to put some powder up your nose, or if you want to smoke a joint, or take a bunch of perks, or do a bunch of illegal substances, I'd say as long as you're not hurting anybody else, go nuts. But here's the catch. The medical system will not pay for your idiotic things. If you go into an emergency room and it's said that you just overdosed on heroin by your own discretion, well, you're pretty much a dead man walking, or a dead man laying, however you come in. But yeah, the drug war has to stop, because people with non-violent crimes like smoking weed are being put into a prison where violent criminals exist. And if you put those people together, what do you think's going to happen? The non-violent so-called criminal, the guy who smoked a joint, is going to become violent because he has to defend himself against the violent people. So it's an ongoing spiral of disillusion. Key details of the plan, including the cost and location of alternative jails, are still a long way from being worked out, the mayor said. The announcement comes 2 days ahead of planned unveiling of recommendations by independent commission established in the wake of stirring a brutal case that exposed poor supervision, questionable medical care, and corruption at Rikers. A commission headed by the state's former chief judge, Jonathan Lippman, has been considering options for Rikers as a part of the broad examination of the city's criminal justice system. Well, the criminal justice system is totally effed, if we haven't noticed.